So your buddy told you that they've got a carry permit so they don't have to do a background check to buy a gun. That is not entirely true. And I'm going to explain what a NICS exemption is and how some people can just fill out the paperwork and walk out the door while others have to wait for the FBI. I live in Texas. Texas is one of the states that has this exemption. And what that means is that my carry permit as an individual satisfies all of the requirements in a federal background check for buying a gun. So as long as that permit's valid, it hasn't been revoked, and I have it in my possession, it can be used in lieu of an additional background check. So those are conditions. Has to be current, valid, not revoked. Some states like Texas do give you a way to check that as a dealer. Alternatively, though, if you're in a state where you can't check that permit that has a NICS exemption, as a dealer, you work on good faith, unless there's a state law that says otherwise. So what that means is your state has issued that permit to that individual or to you, and it is the state's responsibility to go get that permit if you're not supposed to have it anymore. So the states that have a NICS exemption with a type of permit that qualifies, I'm just going to run through the list real quick. I wrote them down in my handy dandy little notebook here. They are Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, Georgia, Idaho, Iowa, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana. Michigan has a weird permit. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but they were on the list. I'll link that down below. Mississippi, Montana, North Dakota, Ohio, South Carolina, South Dakota, like I said before, the great state of Texas, West Virginia, and Wyoming. So those states have a permit exemption, which means when you go in to buy a gun, you fill out the paperwork, you give your dealer your driver's license and your carry permit. Just give them both every time, because if there's a difference in the information, they can just fill out the paperwork without having to come back to you. They fill out their part of the paperwork, you pay for your gun, they hand you your gun, you walk out the door. It is that simple in those states. Every state not listed has to run through some other type of background check. And that can be the FBI, or that can be through a state point of contact. And it does vary extensively depending on where you are in the country and what kind of laws your state has passed. So never listen to anybody when they say that they don't have to do a background check to buy a gun. Every gun purchased through a dealer has some type of background check tied to it. Now, the other benefit of getting a carry permit is the FBI and ATF don't get notified in those states I listed. That paperwork gets filed with your dealer, and that's it. The only time anybody's going to get notified that you bought anything is going to be if you buy multiples within 5 business days from the same dealer. If you want privacy and you live in those states and you don't have your carry permit, you missed the boat. Go get your carry permit in those states that I listed, and they're not going to know you bought anything unless they go to that dealer and comb through that dealer's paperwork. And that doesn't really happen. Unless they have a reason to go looking, they're only looking for compliance when they come and look at my books. They're making sure everything's filled out right. They're not paying attention to what name's on that form.